What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now, I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about the possibility of a Silent Hills game being teased next week. This is coming off the news of Kojima Productions potentially teasing it. Now, take it with a grain of salt. Of course, we're only looking at what could be something. It could also just be them pulling a pretty elaborate joke. However, there is definitely some stuff to this. So, yesterday, I believe, hopefully by the time you guys are seeing this, this was only yesterday. Yesterday, Kojima Productions tweeted a picture that says, "Sorry to be silent, everyone. I've been really busy lately. I think I can say more soon about what we are doing too. ... So, I mean, that was one thing we had gotten. There was kind of like a whole thread that had come from that. But so the word silent was something that a lot of people jumped to pretty darn quickly. It could literally just be the fact that they haven't really said much about anything over the last little while, and then I mean, you would use silent in that phrase if you were to refer to that. So I get that. It could be nothing, but the fact Silent and Silent Hills has the history with Hideo Kojima, and then there are quite a few other things. I guess if you zoom in, I don't think this has been photoshopped. I don't think this is anything, but if you zoom in, the notepad that the guy is writing on, like the sticky note, it says next week on it. So that makes sense. That actually makes sense, literally considering the tweet, right? Like they'll be able to say more about what they're doing. So having it come next week does make sense. And I guess if you look at the pencil, it says Pyramid on it. Now again, Pyramid had primary antagonist basically of Silent Hills. So, and we also have Hideo Kojima saying recently that he's been working on a new concept, and he tweeted that he's been watching scary movies to make the scariest horror game. So he's into like this horror kick, Hideo Kojima, which is, though, I mean, it's like the best thing for fans. It's also the worst thing, because if you guys played PT, it is the most terrifying experience out there. At the end of the day, this is awesome. If it's Silent Hills, if it's not Silent Hills, to be quite honest with you, it seems possible. I guess the thing that would be the toughest is that they'd have to have some sort of deal worked out with Konami, because Konami, they have Silent Hills, so they'd have to have patched up their insanely long feud, basically, that they've had. But remember, Kojima was working on PT, which was going to be Silent Hills, under Konami when they were still together. When Kojima left, obviously that whole thing fell apart. But it's not impossible. Now, maybe the fact that, I mean, Silent and Pyramid, those could very much just be, those could be the jokes. Those could be something that people are maybe reading a little bit too much into. The thing that we could be saying to be a lot more safer, right, would be like, hey, it seems very likely that Kojima is going to tease or talk about what they're working on next week, which is, I mean, that no matter what, if that is true, which it seems like it, that's awesome. That is awesome news, and I cannot wait to see whatever they're making. But if you want to include the other stuff, and the fact that, I mean, that is factual, the whole Twitter thing that he's saying, like, you know, he wants to make the scariest game. So, I mean, that they could just be working on a horror game. I mean, that is very it doesn't have to be Silent Hills. And in fact, again, if there's no deal with Konami, if there's nothing being worked out there, it can't even be Silent Hills. So they'd have to do. Plus, I guess rumor has it that Konami is actually looking at doing a reboot of Silent Hills. So they are thinking about it. I guess if you connect the dots and you say, well, Kojima is not owned by Sony, right? Kojima Productions is not a Sony-owned a first-party studio. They can do whatever they want. Death Stranding obviously was published by Sony, but it doesn't have to be any of their games. So if they're the ones working with Konami and they're the ones working on a Silent Hills reboot, I mean, that makes sense. It's just, it'd be interesting, right? Could you imagine Kojima ever going back to Konami? I guess that would be the basic question. But again, a couple things seem pretty certain. And also the fact is, Kojima Productions, they want to do a lot of stuff. I mean, they talked about it. Like, we're probably eventually one day going to get a sequel to Death Stranding. They want to do, like, movie stuff. They want to do horror games. So there's a lot of stuff they want to do in general. But very likely next week we get something. Very likely, I would say, I mean, I guess my personal prediction, I think it will be a horror game. Silent Hills seems a little bit more far out, but it's not I really don't think it's impossible. I think a lot of people would say it's impossible for him to go back to Konami and all that stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, business talks, and if they kind of just pave, you know, they say like, hey, what happened happened, and we're sorry about that, but here's the new deal, and we're going to be very hands-off. And I don't think Kojima would do anything for Konami unless it was like, we get to do literally whatever. You don't touch us. You don't even look at us. We'll just make the game we want to make Silent Hills, but because we have to, and we're only working with you because we have to work with you. So stuff like that. I feel like that would be the only way that would happen. And again, you could say, well, that's very unrealistic. I mean, it is definitely possible if Konami is confident that, like, hey, we want to restart this. We really want Silent Hills to be something. We know if we do something with Hideo Kojima, we can make it something, so let's do it. So I think it is definitely possible. But again, at the very, very worst, it seems like next week we're getting something from Kojima, which, I mean, anytime we get that, that is truly an awesome, awesome thing. So I'm very excited. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think this game could be a Silent Hills game? Do you think this game could be some random, just a brand new IP horror game? Do you think Kojima is working with Konami? All of those things, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our YouTube channel podcast now. Have that bell icon rung so you guys know when these videos go up. And we do videos on this channel every single day, numerous times a day. And we cover all sorts of different things. And you can bet when Kojima does announce something, when Kojima Productions announces their next game, we will absolutely cover that as well. Okay, so thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.